Hello, and thank you for joining me here for another video. Today, there's something that's been on my mind that I've really wanted to talk about for a while, but I wasn't quite sure if it was the right timing or the right way to do it until now. I have been on my spiritual journey for a couple of years now, like I'm willing to say more than 4 years, I think. Or maybe just about 4 years. And while going through my spiritual awakening, getting involved with the spiritual community, and meeting different guides, and learning different wisdoms, learning about myself, there was one thing that kept coming up that never quite sat right with me. I don't know if any of you are familiar with councils of light, and if so, I'm not sharing this information to shame you or discourage you from using your own intuition and your own internal guidance. My video is more about redirecting anyone who may be feeling lost in that sense back to their internal guidance. So know that I'm not making this video with judgment or shame or with like any accusatory tone. It's just something I've noticed, I've come to know to be true, and I would really feel amiss if I didn't share it out of, fear of judgment or whatever it may be. So, why I don't work with councils of light. Let's get right into it. Hi, hello to anyone who doesn't know me. My name is Hiba. I am a witch, a spiritual practitioner, you could say, and an artist. And I use this account to post mostly about my spirituality, to create meditations, to speak in soul language, and to channel through wisdoms that I receive from my higher self, from my soul, and from my guides. If any of that interests you, consider leaving a like or following the account for more every other Friday, if I'm being honest. All right, back to councils of light. So when you're getting into spirituality, you may encounter a lot of people talking about like galactic beings, archangels, elemental beings. There's so many different beings that exist or potentially exist. And one of the things that I always felt uncomfortable with was this concept of councils of light. So generally these councils of light, the way I've heard them is usually like galactic beings. It sounded kind of like their version of government, where it's like a council of beings for some reason are chosen or decide to create a council to support, I guess, like the highest good of all, or something to that degree, but specified to either that galactic community or for Earth, or whatever purpose this council has. They'll have like a purpose that they are specifically connected to. I think the reason I always felt a little weird about them is because I didn't quite understand how they were different from like Earth governments, or why we should trust them. And a lot of the messaging, not all of it, but a lot of the messaging I felt coming in was very much like, it felt like giving up your individual, I don't want to say, not necessarily power, because you can always take that power back if you felt like you've given it away, but it was like giving up on your internal guidance. Some of the messaging coming out felt very much like you give up your internal guidance to forward or push a message coming from these beings that they want you to say. And that didn't feel connected at all to why we're here on the planet, which is to develop our own sense of right and wrong, our own intuition, and come to the wisdoms that exist ourselves, and to be an active participant in that experience. If a being is telling you to say something, and you haven't even got there yourself, and then they push you and they're like, well, we're just trying to help humanity, or are you not like an ambassador to humanity? Are you not here to like speak the truth? Like, I wouldn't have come here if I knew you were so afraid. Like, if a being starts triggering your ego, oh my god, that doesn't sound right to me. And I'm not saying that's like all of what I see, or I'm not saying anyone in particular. It's just like a thing I've noticed, and that doesn't sound in line with any kind of being that I would ever work with or advise anybody work with. If you've not come to a wisdom yourself, it is not just strange, but it is wrong, in my opinion, for a being to come in and insist you share it when you're not even sure yet. You haven't had time to even think about this thing they're telling you is real or not. They're just like, okay, go share it with the masses now. Like, convert more humans into this line of thinking. Like, whoa, give me a second to think. Like, like, why is that different from any kind of propaganda? And that's it. That's that word I couldn't quite get out of my head when I heard about councils of light. It's that word propaganda. Who decided that these beings are the spokespeople for the rest of their race? I'm not quite clear on that, and if other people have different opinions and are like, well, actually, it's democratic, whatever. It's just, for me, it doesn't feel right at all. And I've come to the knowing that in a lot of cases, whether these beings mean well or not, I'm not saying that they're all like evil or anything like that, but whether they mean well or not, there is something wrong with trying to recruit humans to, I don't know, to say what you want them to say instead of empowering us to be our own beings and not like pawns in a game is all. Like, it's not right. Oh my god, if anyone just like ended up on this video and isn't into spirituality at all, this all sounds so fucking crazy. But that's okay. If you're still here, I hope you're entertained at least. Somebody's scrolling through YouTube and they find some video about councils of light. They're like, what the fuck is that? And then they're just seeing me be like, actually, this is why councils of light are really problematic. Anyways, let's get back on track. Also, I'm not necessarily saying that like councils of light are like super evil, problematic. I'm just saying this is like a hesitation I have, and personally, I do not trust it. I've done a lot of work developing my discernment and intuition, and through my own knowings, my own soul, and also the information I've received from guides that I feel like I can trust. I don't trust most of these councils of light because who are they other than, in some cases, I'm not saying all, beings who've decided that they know better than others and have decided to give themselves like a title and a name and decided to ascribe power to that. I really don't see them as much different to our own governments. Like, I don't think they're exactly the same or even necessarily as dark as our governments, because by the way, if you haven't noticed, our governments, like everywhere, are fucked. But yes, I just wanted to kind of invite that, like, these councils exist, but perhaps there are other groups and beings who like disagree with these councils. And the most important thing is, if you are going to work with these councils, I'm not saying you shouldn't or that you can't. I'm just saying don't let any being make you feel dumb or make you feel like you can't make decisions for yourself, or that you're not allowed to push back and have boundaries with what you're saying when you're saying it. And if you're even okay with pushing their agenda. Because even if they are doing this because they believe it's the best thing for everybody, all these beings are sentient beings like you or me. They have their own agendas, and those agendas come into play when they're telling you to do something. And I feel like people don't talk about that. So yes, I don't quite trust councils of light because I know that they have their own agendas, and I know that my highest good isn't necessarily their concern more than getting whatever message they want across and whatever their agenda is. And for me, my rule is I'm only working with beings that are in line with the highest good of all and like care about humanity and Earth and other beings beyond that, but not to the point where they're going to use me as a pawn and not see me as like a being with rights and a voice is all. I think another reason why this hits home to me is because I've been told by certain guides, some of which I will not name for apparently their own safety, that like not all of these councils are what they seem to you or to others perhaps. So please keep that in mind. I know that like a past parallel version of me in one of these like star systems was not, what's the word I'm looking for? Had warned me about the Andromedean Council of Light and said that a lot of what they say is very based in propaganda and isn't quite true. Like, if you hear things that, like, Andromeda is this place where they never have any wars and they're all peaceful and they love being free, that's not true. That's not true to the history of Andromeda. That's not true to what actually had gone on there in the past and perhaps the present. I'm not too sure about what's going on there now, because this is a past version of me, but actually, I do know, even now, like, I don't think you should trust this council because they're pushing this information, or at least some versions of this council, some beings on this council, I don't know, are saying things like that and having humans deliver that message to other humans, and it's just propaganda. And also, don't piss me off. I don't like higher beings coming down, seeing lower beings, I say with, quotation marks, and just lying to push an agenda. Like, that's so, like, it's like a civil rights issue. That's so inappropriate and, like, deeply wrong, and I'm not okay with that, and I'm not okay with working with any of those beings who do things like that. Like, I don't. Get out of my space. Another thing I want to bring up, especially with Andromeda, if you've ever heard that, like, all the beings are, like, pretty similar, there's apparently a lot more variety in what those beings are and look like, and also even the culture. It's a lot more mixed. So if you're hearing anything that seems like it's all one or two species or, like, cultures or things of that nature, maybe have some grains of salt applied to that message or whoever's delivering it. So that's kind of my wisdoms I have. Use your own discernment before believing anything, including anything I'm saying. So I guess to sum it up, I see a lot of stuff about councils, and it's never quite sat right with me, these councils of light. And mostly, I'm not telling you that they're all good, they're all bad, or you can't trust any of them, or you can trust all of them. I'm telling you to maybe not trust right away, and to remember who you are and what you believe, and remember that what you believe and the wisdom of your soul comes before any, like, external being. Never lose your heart. Your heart is what guides you. It guides you better than any external force or being or person. The same messages that we say about humans, like not letting other humans in your life decide who you are and what you're going to do, apply to these other beings. Please practice discernment when you're talking to them. And honestly, I don't think there's a difference, or much of a difference, between the governments here and the governments in other, dimensions with other beings, because I feel like we are all mirrors, so we're all reflecting each other. So while we see a disillusion in the government here, a lot of things coming to light, like the atrocities that they commit regularly coming to light, and people starting to realize how flawed these systems are and how these governments do not work for us, I feel like the same thing is happening in galactic spaces with these governments or councils, whatever. So with that in mind, never lose your own compass, never turn away from your own compass, and don't let any being bully you into saying something that you don't feel is right, or you need more time to digest. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. Please just connect to your intuition. And if your intuition is like, your genuine intuition is like this girl or whatever, doesn't know what she's talking about, blah blah blah, check in to see if that's your ego. But if you're really in your soul, like, I cannot trust you, I know I can trust, like, Bartholomew of the 59th dimension or whatever, then I respect it, okay? I'm just sharing through what I feel like I have a responsibility and a desire to share. But yeah, that was the video for today. I hope it's sitting right with you, or if it's triggering you, I hope it's for your highest good. I hope it was at least beneficial to you in some way or another. Thank you so much for being here, listening to this video, checking out my channel. If you're interested in content like this, or any of the other spiritual work I do, or the art I create, consider consider following the channel for more. I post every other Friday, sometimes more often than that, but I can guarantee more or less every other Friday. But yeah, thank you, and bye.